right. Bye, guys. Okay, as I was mentioning, it is stewardship season, which means we have our second stewardship talk today. So it is my honor and my pleasure to be able to introduce to you Ruth Ann Graham, who will be giving us our stewardship sermon this morning. Thank you, Ruth Ann.
Murdoch offered for me to do the children's sermon, but I said I rather like watching him do it. So, good morning, all. My name is Ruth Ann Graham, and I am the worse half to my husband David, and parent to our two middle school kids, Ashlyn and Christian, both of whom are acolyting, but neither of whom I think knew that I was speaking today, nor do they have much tendency to snap into action when they hear my voice, so they might be snoozing up there, so Father Murdoch might give them a sharp elbow. Father Brad suggested that I speak to my fellow Episcopalians this morning with a subtle implication that we all might consider turning loose some of our pocket change during this pledge drive season. I am uniquely equipped for this task, as professionally, my job is to teach children a discipline that sometimes I myself feel that I have barely begun to master. I will say, though, that I do teach 8th grade, so I'm not at all accustomed to having a group of people sitting calmly and looking at me and listening, so this is quite pleasant, and y'all look like you make getting through a lesson rather easy. Our family joined this parish about 3 years ago during COVID, and this morning I would like to share a few words about what being a part of this community of faith means to me, and perhaps prompt you to consider what it means to you. As I mentioned, I'm a teacher, and a colleague at the school where I work recently gave a wonderful talk which featured a quote from Ovid's Metamorphoses. And the original Latin is, "Nec quod fuim suve, sumus suve cras erimus." And I know we have some students out there who are currently taking Latin. I happen to be a world language teacher, so here it is again if you want to think it through. Nec quod fuim suve, sumus suve cras erimus. If your last Latin class was just a little too long ago, here it is in English. What we have been and what we are, we will not be tomorrow. And I love that quote because I so desperately want it to be true. What we have been and what we are, we will not be tomorrow. I love this idea so much because I am a recovering overfunctioner. Type A, Enneagram 1, Myers-Briggs ISTJ. I'm the oldest of 5 children, so my caretaking has been on overdrive for most of my life. And I really love the idea that there's a promise that I will finally get it together tomorrow. If I can just wake up earlier or work harder or faster, then I will finally be the person that I want to be. I find, alas, that this isn't true at all. I find that despite all my resolutions about self-improvement and intentions to turn over a new leaf, I still wake up every morning as, in fact, the very same jerk that I went to sleep as. And I do not seem to be able to be very patient and kind with the people in my life or in my house with any regularity, despite having virtually every privilege in modern Western society. I don't seem to be able to consistently cultivate the joy, peace, and self-control that, according to the Apostle Paul, would be indicative of walking by the Spirit. Worse, most of the time, I seem to be a petri dish for judgment and self-righteousness. And if you don't believe me, you can ask any of my housemates, or most especially my roommate. But you probably don't have to ask because you probably find this to be true in your own life. I think this is why the message of the gospel is so transformative. Its good news is that we are loved even when we are unlovely, and worthy of love and belonging despite our inability to behave like we know we should. God moves towards us even when we wouldn't particularly want to move towards us. And this brings me to being a part of a community of faith that is a church, or in all of our cases, this church. Every week, we gather in this beautiful space and we hear the readings, we consider the messages that our able clergy offers, and we receive communion. The message of the gospel reaches and transforms our hearts, and certainly sometimes influences our actions, and then we forget it again. I find that God says, what you have been and what you are, you will probably continue to be most of the time, and you are still worthy of grace. Our gospel reading this morning says that the message of the gospel came to the Thessalonians, not in word only, but also in power and in the Holy Spirit with full conviction. I can't help but suspect that the Thessalonians didn't always feel the full conviction of the power of the gospel, and I certainly don't. I think that this is why we continue to come and contribute to this parish community, because sometimes we do have moments of feeling that full conviction and faith, but they are fleeting, but we know that we need to remember. The message that I hear in this parish is very different than the message that my culture tells me. My culture tells me that I should be able to pull myself up by my bootstraps and behave in accordance with my highest values. My daily experience shows me that I can't even get it together and treat others as I would want to be treated with much regularity. God's response is grace, which cannot be earned. It is unmerited favor that is freely given. It's a lot for my type A overfunctioning self to process, and much of the time I cannot. May God continue to use the work of this parish and its many contributors to cause me and you to believe for Jesus' sake. Amen.